Ex-fiancée wants to catch up after he left me at the altar. How do I proceed? I am not the oop. Oop is you, lalavandalaTulapi. Ex-fiancée wants to catch up after he left me at the altar. How do I proceed? Originally posted to our advice. Trigger warning. Death of a parent. Abandonment. Infidelity and mentions of PTSD. Less than. Mood spoiler. Positive for oop. Less than. Original post July 19, 2023. Well, exactly what the title states. Also, I'm writing this on mobile, sorry for any formatting issues. My 28F. Ex-fiancé, Derek. 32 meters. Disappeared the morning of our wedding 2 years ago. Evading all attempts to reach him from myself and his family. It was devastating. Absolutely soul-crushing. The event turned into a party to distract from the pain of the unknown. Afterwards, I returned to our apartment and slept on the bathroom floor in my wedding dress. It was quite the ugly sight, to be honest. His mother ended up coming to the apartment when she informed me tearfully that Derek had run off with an ex of his. They had apparently reconnected a week prior to wedding and he just couldn't go through with it, opting instead to rekindle his relationship with his ex. His family was horrified. I didn't hear from him until 3 months after he left. He called me, apologized, and then revealed that his ex had been hiding his child from him that he just found out about. He wanted to be with them. That's pretty much all that was said. I didn't say much. Actually, I think I only said, hello. The whole situation left me numb. I just didn't care anymore. Thankfully though, my friends were and continue to be there for me through all of this muck. They encouraged me to seek therapy and work on healing, which I'll be honest was terribly difficult. But after a year I felt myself again. Which brings me to today. After this whole debacle and subsequent self-improvement, rebuilding, I moved to the UK. Originally from Australia. For a change in scenery. Last night I got a message request on Instagram. It was Derek. Hey, waving hand, light skin tone. I've heard you moved to Wales. That's so cool. I'm traveling to Cardiff towards the end of July. I'm deeply sorry about everything and I want to discuss what happened leading up to the wedding. I hope I am not overwhelming you. Let me know if you'd like to talk over lunch. Firstly, no idea who told him about my move. Secondly, I don't know if I crave closure from him. But I also don't want to decide to decline to only layer on regret my decision. So I turn to you, strangers of the internet. What should I think about before reaching a decision? Would be wise to decline, or should I humor him and listen to his reasons? Okay, minor update. Wow, this garnered far more attention than I anticipated. So bear with as I try to navigate all of your advice. Although the general consensus is quite clear, I have learned that an old mutual friend of ours revealed where I moved. And evidently he's been stressing that he needs to tell me something. For the time being, I have decided to simply ignore his message and work through any emerging feelings with my therapist. Thanks. Relevant comments. Sparky81. The ball is entirely in your court. Do you feel you need anything from him? Do you need an explanation or closure? You don't really owe him anything, so it's entirely about what you want from this. Oop replied. It sounds pathetic, but I guess I wanted the why a bit more in depth. Yet again, learning it won't change anything from the past. Thus brings me to my conflicted state. Update July 31st, 2023. Hello everyone. I did update in my original post, but I've decided to repost it here. So as I mentioned previously, I decided to not respond to his message. A day after, however, I received another message from him, which I won't write out in its entirety. To sum it up for you all though, he apologized for how disingenuous his initial message was and explained why he had reached out to me. Essentially, he wanted to discuss that week That final week before our wedding and the events that led up to him dipping out. Now I will refrain from entirely delving into my ex's and I's past. But my ex-fiancé was diagnosed with PTSD with avoidant attributions from past experiences. His diagnosis did provide quite a bit of clarity looking back our relationship and his past behavior. So I truly feel for him in his journey of self-healing. However, despite his struggles, I still told him that couldn't forgive him for his callous act of leaving me in a perpetual state of limbo for 3 months. Unsure of why he had abandoned me. He said he understood now, and some of you will be quite mad with me, but I ultimately agreed to meet him for lunch and I do not regret it. He's not with his ex. Actually, she passed away 6 months after he left me the altar, which is part of the reason why she reached out to him in the first place. Since then he has been working on himself through therapy and navigating single fatherhood. Yes, the child is his. The lunch wasn't too long, but it was all around cathartic on both sides. At the end of the lunch, he handed over an envelope which contained the all money we spent preparing for the wedding. Honestly, I was dumbfounded. It wasn't a gesture I was expecting on his behalf, and I think he was taken aback when I returned the ring he gave me. It's funny, I held onto the ring just in case I needed to sell it if my finances continued to be unstable, but I never had to. Ironic that in the end I did receive money whilst seemingly trading that ring. He looks better. And not to toot my horn, but I feel I do as well. Now that chapter has concluded and I no longer feel rage or remorse. I feel free. I feared that I might have still harbored feelings for him, but I have since found that I loved him for the man he was in that moment when we were together. And though we're now apart, I'm okay with looking back and acknowledging the love I had for him. I've closed that chapter now. With him. With the woman I was with him. Thank you all so much. Any advice on what I should spend the money on? Haha. This is a repost sub. I am not the oop. Wow, I'm not a believer in closure, but that is some serious closure. I'm pleased Oop managed to get some closure. I understand people saying ignore him and move on, but sometimes not having any kind of explanation can leave you struggling to heal. This update was healthy. I'm honestly happy for Oop. I remember reading the original post AMD thinking, the audacity of this guy to reach out like this. After what he did, I thought he's reaching out only to rub it in her face more. But I'm glad it kind of ended well for her. Nothing justifies what he did though. But he does seem like a good soul deep down. Edited to say my new outlook on him. I experienced a similar situation with a cousin. She was incredibly violent to all of the female cousins growing up, like beat us up, sprained and almost broke my wrist and broke another cousin's arm pushing her out of a tree. It got so bad that most of the family cut contact with her. I always hoped she was okay and got help, but was pretty sure she was in prison. Like a decade later, I got an email from her like Op did with her ex, asking to talk and explain. I figured she was across the country. What could it hurt? Boy, do I regret it. She explained that the reason she was so violent was because of gender dysphoria and was angry at the cis women of the family. She came out to me and told me she was working with a therapist and transitioning and trying to make amends with everyone. I thought it was wonderful, and for a short time, we became super close, until the real reason dropped. She wanted everyone in the family's addresses from me. Our whole family had since spread across the country and she wanted all of our addresses. I refused and said she'd have to try talking online with people first and respect their no if they didn't want to. She blew up angrily, just like old times, saying she was an entirely different person. She went on a huge religious misogynistic rant. Knowing I have huge religious trauma. Got arrested at her aunt's nursing home. Started doing meth with our uncle and to this day stalks me online. I'm glad OP's closure worked out and I wished mine had too. Hey now this is Reddit, don't you bring that, adults maturing and moving on from a bad experience stuff here, I think if Oop's fiancé was honest about all this a week before the wedding, things would have been different. Perhaps Oop would have gone ahead with the wedding as the Oop's fiancé's ex was soon going to pass away. Perhaps she would have helped in taking care of the daughter. Perhaps. However, I am relieved for Oop. She is free. She is independent. She can start all over again. Part of me wonders if the ex-fiancé was hoping to rekindle the relationship. If so, he is a fool. Sounds like her ex did some serious self-work in the interim. I'm glad it worked out for her and she can put it all to rest now. Oop is a much better person than I am, LMAO. Good for her. What a damned shame she's so self-aware. I bet it would have gone well if he'd come to her and said he needed to postpone because he just learned he'd fathered a child. If the ex was dying and needed him to take custody of his child, did he not trust his fiancée enough to tell her? Was part of the ex dying wish that they pretend to be a happy couple then he take over as the parent after her passing? Still sounds messed up to me. I'm glad Oop has found closure and is content with the way things ended though. He really shot himself in the foot here. They could have approached this as partners. It doesn't sound like his ex reached out hoping to get back together, just wanting to inform him about the kid and her situation. And he went nuclear. Imagine if he had gone to OP and they had worked through it together. This closure seems wrapped up in all too pretty of a bow for what actually went down. I think never in my life have I seen such an adult and healthy ending for this kind of post. Bravo, I say. Little bit hope for humanity restored. I think I remember this and I commented on the original post that it seemed suspiciously like an attempt to hook up and cheat on the new wife. Happy to be wrong about that. Sucks about the rest though. I'm glad Oop got out of the meeting what she wanted. That must have felt satisfying. I'm surprised and glad that this wasn't as disastrous as it could be. A fine update. Good for Oop. The image of a girl falling asleep on the bathroom flooring, crying in her wedding dress is the most heartbreaking image I've had to imagine in a long time. I was 90% sure he only reached out for a meetup as a means to absolve his own guilt and fully expected him to engage in some industrial-strength gaslighting. I was waiting to read about how he aimed for some revisionist history where she was the villain all along while he was her helpless victim. I'm so glad that's not what happened. Oop took a chance and got the closure she needed. Plus her money back. Sometimes we get the story that the other person who did wrong just wanted to alleviate their guilt by being able to say that they reached out for forgiveness without actually asking for it. Or worse.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.